Today we're going to go into a little bit more detail about astral projection for working through an initiatic system or to interact with spirits or both. So that is what we're looking at today. How specifically could we turn this into a ritual? Also, I just wanted to announce, I've actually been working on a lot of stuff here recently. I'm trying to reach a personal deadline that I have. Well, it's not personal. I've been very, very busy over the last few days. But I've got some stuff that I'm going to have coming out that I'm pretty excited about. So it's going to be good. And then also I wanted to wish everyone an early happy spring equinox for those of you in the northern hemisphere, and an early happy autumn equinox for those of you in the southern hemisphere. And so yeah, Chayayel. This is the last day of Chayayel. Which seems to have a lot to do with combat and protection. So very interesting angel. And then tomorrow, for those of you that are actually following the sun through the zodiac, we'll be starting to work with Mumia. Of course, one can work with any angel at any time. However, there are people that find it useful to work through following a system or scheme, such as the 20-minute cycle, in which one can work with any angel on any day, or the following the sun through the zodiac as well. So today I wanted to talk about a little bit more about astral projection, and what is an example of a way that you can work with this. So there are many different. Now, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? Is the purpose initiatic? Is it for your spiritual growth, or is it something like practical magic, or both? You need to have a clearly defined goal. I really think that it's useful, I talk about this a lot. I think it's very useful to have a magical record, or a journal in which you write things down. And it really helps a person to get to know themselves. And it's even cool to look back. You'll find a record of something you wrote, 15, 20 years ago when you were on your spiritual path, It's pretty cool. There are a lot of really lucid, really interesting realizations that a person can have in their life that if they don't write down, they're just lost. But what is an example of how to use an astral projection? First of all, what is the exit technique? There are really elaborate exit techniques, and it takes a little bit of practice. For those of you that want to have a full-on out-of-body experience, like you're no longer even aware of your body, that takes some work. There are methods to do that. That's beyond the scope of this particular video. The method that I personally use, and I have very good results, and many other people use, is just to visualize, but to take your time. Take your time visualizing. Maybe spend a good 5-10 minutes. I found it useful. The more time that I spend doing so, the more effective that it is. But what you would do is you would visualize that you leave your body, and then you go up until you can see the earth beneath your feet, and you're basically in space. And then you have an interaction. So that's the method that I use. It's the method outlined in Liber O, which has become a mainstay of modern magic technique, which itself, this is largely based upon methods used in the modern, in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was a late 19th century late 19th century magic and occult order or society. So, anyways, so what are the methods that you could use? Let's say you wanted to do a planetary working. It's very simple. Do a ritual, take a ritual bath, don magical robe if you do that. If not, don't worry about it. Have a ritual space dedicated to the planet during its day and hour. Okay, during its day and hour with the incense of the planet. I personally find it useful to have material, physical things present that relate to the planet using correspondences and to call down. I see these in my personal approach to all of this as going together. I call the force. I have the candles and the incense and the stones or the correspondences and the timing, and I invoke, or at least the planetary hour, and I invoke with the best of my ability, I invoke the force to me. That's calling the force to me. Then I tell the force that I want to astral project, and then I go up. So basically, I call the force to me, and then I go up. And of course, by the way, I want to make it clear to people two things. First of all, I want to make clear that this is not traditional. This is a modern practice. However, in my videos, I like to talk about classical practices. I like to talk about modern. I like to talk about different traditions. I like to cover basically everything so that people understand different aspects of occultism. Okay. So I try to not be biased in any one direction. I try to just talk about different practices, and I try different practices. And in my own path of discovery and, and everything as well, it helps to inform many years of doing all of this. But anyways, it's very simple. Planetary hour. I like to call on the force and have a physical bedside altar. That's what I like to do. So I'm calling the force to me, and then I go up. And so I'm not only going to it, it's coming to me. I found that to be useful. So having an astral projection altar. And so I wanted to make clear that this is not a traditional practice. This is a modern practice. But for those of you that would like to try it and like to experiment with this method, and then second of all, it's very important with this practice that a person, is this dangerous? Well, it's dangerous for someone that is not able. Okay, it's very important that we don't necessarily ascribe objective reality to anything that we experience on the astral plane. Whether the astral plane be an objective outside dimension that we journey to, or whether that be within our own unconscious or mind, like a waking dream or active imagination. So however you view astral projection, whether it's something in the mind or external, either way, the astral plane is still the realm of illusions, whether that be from the unconscious, if you take a psychological approach, or if you take it as more of an external approach, but dealing with things like the astral light and thought forms and things like this. It's not to mention, to look at things from kind of a little bid of a modern tree of life type of perspective. You could say that things are filtered through Yesod. Things are filtered through our own subconscious, possibly, so that we may be interacting with something directly, but through the unconscious, through the matrix of the mind or the fabric of the mind, we are seeing, but through a darkly glass, like we are seeing not the sun light directly, but we're seeing the sunlight reflected from the moon. To use that analogy of the moon being like the subconscious, and how we aren't just directly seeing the divine force which we have invoked, but we are in a sense seeing reflection. Now, what is a reflection? The moon reflects. You could say that water reflects. It is the first mirror. Reflection, duplicity, and but the thing is, we have to recognize that these types of experiences could be transformative. I would say the only danger here, the main danger here, is that people need to be able to separate this from reality. I'm not saying that it's not real, but we need to be able, just because you have an experience doesn't mean that we need to give objective reality to that experience. So that is just my own personal perspective and just giving my honest opinion of what I find helpful. For those of you that want to engage in like astral projection and using that method for interacting with spirits and things like that, or engaging in these things. And I try to be inclusive of all viewpoints. For those of you that view all of this as just psychological, for those of you that view it as objective, however you want to see this, either way, I think that it's important that we don't necessarily give objective reality, but we are open. That is my own personal viewpoint, is that openness to possibility is important, but also not credibility either, or credulity. So, one very simple method that I like to use is to use the planetary hour and incense and candle color, maybe the sigil, call on the planetary intelligence, and then I'll go up and have an interaction. Or with the whatever type of thing that I'm working with. People could also use astral projection to try to path work through the tree of life, to do some type of path working, or to try to go through that type of process, which is really interesting. We're getting into more of a modern magic perspective. You could say that our everyday mundane consciousness, or profane consciousness, the silly old gray land, the profane world, the silly world, that is Malkuth. That's the profane world. That is the mundane world. That is where most people live, is in Malkuth. If we are to use this Kabbalistic type of diagram, type of way of looking at the world, the Kabbalistic tree of life is just basically a type of map that we use to look at the world and ourselves. It's like a filing cabinet, is how Crowley describes a type of a filing cabinet. But anyways, there's 3 paths that lead from Malkuth. So basically, the Tree of Life is really interesting because you have different realms or worlds or forces or archetypes or different parts within ourselves, but then you also have relationships between them. And you have a type of figure where not only do you have levels, but also within those levels, you have polarity on different pillars, and then a middle pillar, and then these like different Sephiroth, and then paths. So it's much more than just levels. There's a symmetry to the Tree of Life. It's just really interesting, okay? And this is more of a modern magic type of thing. But the 3 paths that would lead us from here to Yesod, or to Hod, and Netzach are Keshet, Kof, Shin, and Tav. Kof, Shin, and Tav. So Kof, using kind of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn type of attribution to the Tree of Life. So Kof connects Malkut to Netzach. Malkut and Netzach is the path of Kof. This is Atu Eitin, or the moon card, and the tarot. Malkut to Netzach. Okay, so this is Kaf. This is the moon. And then of course we have Tau that connects Malkuth and Yesod, and then we have Malkuth and Hold. What connects these? Well, it's the path of Sheen. So, hi, how are you doing today? I see somebody's got a tarot card profile picture. You know what I'm talking about. So Cachette spells bow. Okay? Now, when you aim with the bow, that represents directed will. I think I talked about this in my last video, where no, that was in my Patreon only. So I recently made a Patreon only video where I talked a lot about like directed will. My Patreon, I do make videos. Now, a lot of my Patreon videos, probably most of it will eventually go public after a year or so, but my Patreon just gives me a way to kind of monetize my content, and so it helps me out. And so yeah, I do like exclusive content, which eventually will come out. Most of it, anyways. After a year. But so what is the path of Sheen? Well, it's awakening. It's awakening. You look at most of these decks, they show the Israfel blowing the trumpet at the last judgment, and people are rising from their coffins. Okay? This is fire, this is awakening, this is rebirth, this is transformation. Clearly, if you see images of the dead rising, and it's ascribed to fire, then this is a transformative sphere. And this leads to Mercury or Hold. So let's say that you're using this type of path working type of approach, and I plan to break this down so much more for y'all, and I plan to because there are many of you that are listening to everything I say, and you're like, yeah, but there's a lot of y'all that I want to try to break down where it's very simple to where someone could try to work with astral projection for different types of techniques. But as an example, this fiery realm itself could be very transformative. Like, what is the nature of this? And then also looking at the tarot from this type of perspective, you could say that the tarot are also astral doorway or windows or doorways. Yeah, these images, we project ourselves into the images, and then we can have certain types of interactions, okay? Again, whether that be within the mind or within the external world, but we go through this transformative realm of fire and transformation. What does fire do? It destroys, but you're reborn from the ashes. It is transformation. Fire transforms, and it brings to a higher vibration. It brings movement. It refines. It purifies. Fire. It gives light. Light. Light is often seen as a symbol of knowledge as well. But fire, the divine element, fire. This is, again, in many decks, Israfel is blowing the trumpet, and it shows corpses rising. People are resurrecting. It is bringing life to where there is death. And you could say that, what does this represent symbolically? Obviously, it's not literal. What does it represent symbolically? Well, it is the call to awakening. It is calling us to awaken. We are here in Malkuth, and now if we want we are here we need to reach awakening. Okay? Tau is all about a discipline, restriction, Saturn. To master time is to master Earth. What if we think about that for a minute? To master time is to master Earth. If we are able to master time, then we are able to have more of or to have discipline, restriction. It's interesting that Tau also refers to the cross. Tau means cross, and also it has the gematria of 400. So knock out the zeros, you have 4. Okay, so you have the cross of the elements. Okay, and we have like manifestation, nothingness in its full extension, as this world of This world that we live in, this phantom show of time and space. Hi, how are you doing today, Paula? Okay. Hello, Kato. Let's see. Astral protection with morning Liber Resh is something I would like to start trying out. Oh, astral projection with morning Liber Resh. Very cool. Yeah, that would actually be very cool. Let's say it's sunrise. Let's say it's a sunrise or a sunset, or noon. To do an astral projection, maybe do a solar. Well, it is a solar adoration, but to try to connect with the sun or the energy of the sunrise or the sunset or whatever, that would actually be pretty cool. Or to just use these as times to practice, If anyone works within an order, obviously you would work with whatever your superior instructs, whatever your instructor says. But if you're working it on your own, then the 4 Resh times could absolutely just be perfect for like practice times, because maybe you don't have a specific meditation given by your superior, but after Resh, that could just be, oh, it's noon or solar noon. By the way, there's a really cool app called Helios. I don't get anything from that plug, but I've just found it useful. If anyone has Android, I think it's on iPhone as well, Helios. It shows the solar times so that we're not just basing everything on the clock. I think part of the thing that you get from Resh is that we're learning to detach from our social clock that we use, like for a 9-to-5 job or to meet a buddy or something. No, we're starting to learn to connect with a true solar cycle. We're learning to connect with the energy of the sun at its height, at noon or at sunset. We're connecting with these actual times. We're starting to like disengage. We're starting to connect with like actual. I don't know. Honestly, I want to be careful saying that because I think that each person has to find like their own thing that works for them. But traditionally they say that you're supposed to go with the actual true solar time, But anyways, hello everybody. This is just a quick video. I have not been slacking, even though I have not been making videos as I should. I need to be making more videos, but I've actually got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm trying. I've got so much that I've got to do over the next couple of weeks. I've got a lot to do. But you guys will see, I've got some stuff coming out, some stuff that's really important, really good, and I'm really excited. And yet I don't want to talk too much about it before it materializes. You know what I mean? So I mean that's part of the four laws of the Sphinx: to know, to dare, to will, and to keep silent. Silence itself is a virtue at times, y'all. Sometimes you have to let things manifest, okay, and unravel. But anyway, so Hayayel. This is the end of this angel's period, and then the very last. If we are following the sun through the tropical zodiac, as the divine Cabal does, and as Lazar Lanaine mentions, if we are to use this type of method, then we are at the 72nd angel. We're at the end. We're about to reach the end, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, we're about to reach the end with Mumia. Mumia is the very last angel, and it has to do with endings. And what happens after Mumia? This is going to be the final angel. So tomorrow, Mumia. But guess what? After that, it's going to be the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. For those of you that live in the southern hemisphere, I think it's important to include everyone. It's actually the autumnal equinox. But either way, the equinox, okay, we're going to start over with Vehuya. It's like a whole rush of energy. Vehuya is the very first Shem angel. That's what the autumn equinox. Vehuya brings in a rush, and we're going to go with Angel 1. Now, there's some of you that actually told me that you wanted to wait, because I've had a couple of people tell me recently that they just started learning about the Shem angels, and they figure that, well, if there's only like 2 or 3 left at the time when they told me, that they're just going to wait till Vehuya and start with Angel 1. I mean, that's cool, yeah, if you want to do it that way, but tomorrow Mumia is the last angel, okay? And then we're going to start off with the spring or autumnal equinox on March 19th with the new angel, okay? Or the new, we're going to start over with Vehuya, bringing in that raw energy. It's going to be great. And I hope everyone has a wonderful equinox. The equinoxes have always been sacred times in pretty much any ancient culture around the world for the most part. As a general rule, the equinoxes were sacred times. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful equinox. Actually, there's a lot of stuff that I've been working on. There's a lot of stuff. I don't want to give everything away. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I've got some stuff coming out for y'all. And there's going to be more Patreon videos. Was it this morning? Yeah, this morning I made a new Patreon video for y'all. A little bit more personal, Right now, for those of you that maybe you don't want to pay for the Patreon, the $10 a month, what's on Patreon? Well, well, actually a lot. I've been doing, there's a lot that I plan to do with it, I'm still building it up. Group meditations. I go a lot more into like my personal path and stuff. I try not to get like I get a little bit more personal and talk about my own path and things and meditations and kind of a little bit more of my own practice. I can say that there's material that you're not getting in my other videos. But there's so much that I have planned, But Rome was not built in a day. We must go point by point. All I could say is things are coming out, and I'm really happy, and I'm really excited, and I know that things are going to be great. But how is everyone doing today? Today in this video, I talked a little bit more about astral projection. I'm going a little bit more into like modern kind of lodge magic type of things, okay? I don't want to confuse people because I have people from all different levels that watch my videos. A lot of y'all have been doing this for many years, okay? And listening to my videos is like listening to a friend that's, we're on the same page. However, there are a lot of people that watch my videos that they haven't read all this stuff yet. They're new. And I don't want to confuse people. So I'm always trying to jump back and forth between trying to like explain and break down and then, But, yep, so tomorrow it's going to be the next angel. It's the very last angel. And then after that, after this very last angel, it's going to be Vehuya. So that's really going to be great. So, do y'all want to do a, what do you call it? Hold on just a second, y'all. How's everybody doing out there? Alright. So, are we going to do our geomantic figure? What do y'all think? Hi, Luna. How are you doing? Yep. Long time no see. Alright. Alright, y'all. So, Luna and everyone else, if you would like to, we can draw a geomantic figure, and I can continue a little bit reading this Agrippa, and we're about to start getting into some other texts. Hey, doggy. Whoa, 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 doggy. Hey, doggy. Not right now, honey. All right, not during the video. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, honey. Y'all, hold on just a second. Y'all, give me just a moment. I will be right back. All right, y'all, I've got my dog here, so I've got a live camera. Hold on just a sec. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. Little bloopers. Little, internet occultist bloopers going on. All right, so here we are. Hey, Javier, how are you doing today? It's great to see you, Javier. ¿Cómo estás, Javier? All right, so today, and speaking of which, I need to put more content out in Spanish. So, I've just had a lot going on, y'all. Trying to get everything up and going. But if y'all would like to draw a geomantic figure, all that you need is just a pen. All you need is a pen and paper. Okay, what I love about geomancy is that it's so simple. You could use a pen and paper. You could use a stick and the ground. Okay, you may not have tarot cards when you're out on a walk, but you can grab a stick and some dirt. You may not have your tarot cards when you're off at the office, but you'll have pen and paper. So with geomancy, that's what's cool is you're not so reliant. Like you can use a stick, you can use pen and paper, you can use a coin, you can just heads. I usually do is 1. Tails is 2. It's totally arbitrary. It could be the opposite or the reverse. It's up to you. Heads is 1, tails is 2. I just flip a coin 4 times. I get a geomantic figure. People don't know. People don't know what you're doing. Looks like you're just flipping a coin, like you're bored. Looks like you just flipped a coin 4 times because you're bored. They don't know you're doing geomancy. You're doing Renaissance, traditional Renaissance divination. Because in the Renaissance, either for the most part, you could go to a chiromancer or a palm reader. The thing about palm reading is for the most part, it showed you kind of like what your destiny is and what you've got, what you're born with. But palmistry may not be the best thing for asking about what to do about this business meeting coming up on Thursday. So, if you needed to divine something in the Renaissance, what would you do? You would go to an astrologer if you had money and they could do horary astrology or whatever else, or you can go to a geomancer. Now, the cool thing about geomancy is that you could communicate with spirits. You can communicate with planetary intelligences and spirits as a way to query. So we are bringing the magic of Agrippa to life. So now we're getting more into like the classical magic. But, all right, y'all. So whether you take a coin, heads could represent 1, tails 2. You can flip it 4 times and get a geomantic figure. Or if you just get a pen and paper, you could make 4 rows of dots and then count the dots in each row and see if you have an odd or even number. From which you make a 1 or 2 dots. Okay, so very simple. Do y'all want to draw a geomantic figure with me today? First of all, we need a good question. What is a good question? And the way that I like to look at it is a well thought out question, a well written question. It's good to write things down so that you remember them. Now, here's something that I would like to bring up here. Why is it important to write things down? Well, there are very many different approaches. My own perspective is that I think that any reader worth his or her salt should be able to fact check their own readings. I think it would be a very interesting experiment to write down our readings and our interpretations for what we think is going to happen. That's the key point. Date it. And then wait a couple months and see what actually happened so that we can compare what did we project would occur based on the reading versus what actually happened. The thing is, I think that we're already dealing with invisible forces here. Whether in the mind or out there, we're dealing with the unseen world and a host of all kinds of what most people would consider superstition. Why not bring a certain element of bring in this aspect of it, okay? Why not write it down and date it along with what do you think is going to happen based on this reading, okay? So ask a question, think about how you word a question could really determine the outcome of a reading. Make your chart or figure and then write down what do you think that means in this situation. Also, what do you think is going to happen? Okay? Write down your interpretation and date this. Why? So 2 or 3 months later, let's say you asked about your job. You wrote down what you think is going to happen based on this reading at your job. So 2 or 3 months later, go and review what actually happened versus what you thought would happen, or a relationship or anything, okay? So we are able to look back and see, did that really happen how I thought it was going to happen, so that we can correct. Now, the thing is, this is just a way to try to help us to come more on course, okay? To help us to come more on course. Some people don't like to do that. They feel like, oh my God, if I do this type of thing, it's like I'm doubting myself. Well, no, it's not doubt. I mean, it's actually a form of faith, but we know that it's important to at least be open. Okay, I think openness is key. But I think that we should still try to document what is our interpretation, and then we need to go back and see what actually happened. Okay. But astral projection, an interesting exercise, is to take a symbol that is unknown, a symbol that's completely unknown to you, okay, a symbol from some book. So let's say some alchemical symbol, some symbol that you have no idea what it means. You have no way of knowing. Try to do an astral projection into this symbol and then come back and then write down what did you interpret the symbol to mean in your travel, and then go look at what the symbol actually represented. So there are different types of tests, you know. There are other things you can do. If you have a partner that does this stuff with you, another exercise is while you're not in the room, preferably where you can't hear, this is with a working partner, someone will invoke Mars or Jupiter, invoke some kind of planet, do some kind of specific planetary invocation. Then, with no physical evidence, you come in and do an astral projection and try to see what planet is present, okay? So, let's say that someone does a Venus invocation, and you don't know what planet it is, okay? You're blindfolded, you come in, you do an astral projection, and you see just Venus symbols all over the place. Well, that sounds like sounds like it worked. Now, if they invoke Venus and you go up and you see Mars everywhere, there's something wrong. Something is not adding up with this picture here. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? What does that mean? Is it not valid? No. But it just means that it doesn't match the goal here is to try to tell what force was invoked through the medium of astral projection. Now, the thing is, I personally think, and I think that the various traditions of magic, even Agrippa, even the classical literature talks about the importance of belief and faith. Agrippa talked about faith. The Picatrix talked about faith. I think that we do need to be open, have a certain level of faith or whatever else, but at the same time, we need to be willing to test ourselves. And these are kind of like the two pillars, on the tree of life. Okay, Yakin and Boaz. These should balance each other out. It's not necessarily one, or why not both? You can have both. But anyways, if y'all want to draw a geomantic figure with me, what is a good question? What is a good question? Let me see here. All right, what is my question? Okay. Have you guys thought of a question yet? What is something on your mind? Okay, let me see here. All right, I abbreviated it as a code. I didn't want to tell everyone publicly, but I put A4S. It's a shorthand that I know what it means, is my question. Okay. So, have you thought of a question? I really encourage y'all to write your question out. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, thinking of your question, you're going to make 4 rows of dots, okay? Now, some of y'all watching this are like, we've done this a million times. Why are we doing this again? You know why? Because you're never going to forget. You're never going to forget. After you do this repeatedly, over and over a period of days and weeks, you will, in 5 years from now, you'll remember, 4 rows of dots, I draw a figure. You'll always remember. It will be with you forever. So a little repetition, I think, goes a long way. I think it's helpful. So it's how I do things. I'm very repetitive. In my videos, it helps to deeply ingrain things. It creates a type of groove. Just like in the Nicomachean Ethics, it talked about virtue as grooves in the soul or notches in the soul, okay? They're in dispositions or inclinations. But anyways, so think of your question, take pen and paper. We're going to focus on your question, and we're going to make 4 rows, make a row of dots. Underneath that, make a second row of dots. Just make 4 rows of dots, okay? I'll do this with you. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, so I have mine. Do you have yours? All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. 4 rows of dots. We're going to count up the dots, see if it's odd or even. If it's an even number of dots, then it becomes 2 dots in our geomantic figure. If it's an odd number, then it's a single one. Okay, so we're going to count the number of dots here. So let's count the number of dots in our top row here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So 11 is an odd number, and that becomes a 1 right here. So we're going to count the second row of dots here. How many is this? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is an even number, and even numbers become 2. Okay, so now we're already building our geomantic figure. Each thing is only either a 1 or a 2. It's binary, essentially. Now we're going to count our third row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is an even number. Even numbers become 2 in the geomantic figure. Now we have one more line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Carcer. Carcer. That's actually very interesting based on what I did. You know, it's interesting. I'm kind of all over the place with this, but I just wanted to bring up a point that, everyone has a different perspective on all of this. I do believe in these things that they objectively exist. Okay, supernatural. I believe in supernaturalism. Okay, but even from a perspective from a psychological level, just looking at how you have just looking at how impactful and transformative like path workings and astral projections and divinations and meditations on figures, I don't think this is going away anytime soon. I think if anything it'll just be a new self-help. But like I said, I'm also a traditionalist. That's the thing. I'm also a traditionalist. And I believe these things objectively exist, but I try to look at magic as a whole and try to understand it from all different perspectives, and also try to understand where is it going, what will be the future practice. But I actually got Carcer, which is limitation. What did you guys get? Okay. Paula got Letitia, which of course is joy and happiness and gladness, and that is associated with Jupiter in Pisces. Now it's interesting that it's Jupiter in Pisces, and Pisces is actually the sign that the sun is in right now. Okay, it's the time right before spring. And Letitia is it's a wonderful thing to get. Let's see here. Okay, Facebook memories are great to see stuff when I'm reading the comments here. I got Puer when asking about a pentacle I made. It's current energy. Cool. So like a Marshall type of energy, or Mars energy. That's pretty cool. So, and I actually got Carcer. Carcer's limitation, restriction. The thing is though, I don't really want to go into it, but the thing is, like, it makes so much sense in a profound way that like changes how like I see the situation, and it's really helpful. Like, that's helpful to me getting this Carcer thing. I don't know if it has to do parts. It's interesting that the Art of Geomancy book that I've recommended by John Michael Greer, it actually has geomantic meditations where you could really kind of like internalize these things. So what does that mean? So for example, you'll look at Letitia, for example, which is associated with you'll think of Pisces, you'll visualize Letitia or whatever geomantic figure, you'll visualize it, or Puer. Let's say Puer. You'll visualize Puer, and while you visualize it, you think of all its associations that you have memorized. This also helps your memory. So you think, well, it's Aries. Well, it's strengthened in the first house. It's weakened in the seventh house. It's Puer. It means boy, represents that rush of energy. What does it look like? Well, it looks like a phallus. It looks like a sword, someone holding a sword. And like, you think of all of its connotations. Is it stable? Is it mobile? Well, it's mobile. You know what I mean? So you really look at all of the different qualities. So Puer, what is the opposite of Puer? Would the opposite of Puer be Puella? Okay, and then also, what about the other thing is a figure associated with Mars, which is I would just focus with the figure, But what you're doing two things. One, you're restricting your mind to one figure. That's why I corrected myself there. You're restricting your mind to one thing, but then you're allowing your mind to roam a little bit, but it's just going over all of the correspondences. It's an interesting kind of meditation. It helps you to develop focus and discipline and to kind of go within, and all these wonderful benefits that you get from that type of meditation. but also you're internalizing the geomantic figures as a type of language. You're memorizing it, and what you're doing is you're using symbols, which are the language of the subconscious, and you're consciously learning and and making associations, so that these symbols can now point towards situations, and we can develop a type of super rational type of thinking, that we could kind of think outside the box a little bit, because we're no longer just thinking of things in our same type of linear logic. We're now contemplating symbols, and certain things will come to the surface, and we start to make connections with things, and we start to think outside the box, and of course potentially be inspired by intelligences or spirits. When I work with a planetary intelligence or spirits doing like a geomantic reading, like let's say what I'll do is I'll invoke the intelligence of the planet that governs the question. So for love, I'll call on the planetary intelligence of Venus, which is Hagiel. Or to learn about, something to do with business, I'll do Nakiel, which is associated with the sun, the intelligence of the sun. I'll trace the sigil, I'll call on the intelligence. But this is like a hieroglyph. These are hieroglyphs that allow us to communicate with our inmost selves, and also with these spirits. We can begin to enter a type of dialogue. It's just it's pretty interesting. So I would inquire of the planetary intelligence and trace a figure. So it's pretty interesting. And then I figured that we could read just a little bit. Actually, you said Letitia. Let's read what Agrippa says. Pseudo-Agrippa, in all likelihood, in his On Geomancy, with these. Okay, so Puer. We were just doing a one-figure reading, okay? But we can look at some of these, or we'll do Letitia. What should we do today? Or should we do all of those of, let's see, should we do for today? Let me see here. You know what? We'll do for Venus, okay? We'll do for Venus. So it's going to be Amicio and Puella. We're going to see what Pseudo-Agrippa or Agrippa say about these two, the figures associated with Venus, which are Amicio and Puella in the 12 houses. Okay, so let's take a look here. As you can see here, Agrippa or Pseudo-Agrippa, again, this text was published in the 16th century. Again, we're going into the classical literature. As you can see, each planet has a pair. Each planet, and then also there's the north and south nodes of the moon. When dealing with the geomantic figures, so Puella and Amicio. And I'm going to do this in honor of Friday, which is for Venus. So let's take a look at this here. So that's what I just love, is being able to read these old books on magic. This is from the 16th century. This knowledge lives on. I absolutely love it. It's absolutely incredible. All right. Let me see here. All right. So, a Venus, Puella. So, we're just going to break this has nothing to do with what we're doing, because we just did a one-figure reading. This is what Pseudo-Agrippa or Agrippa said in the 16th century on geomancy. We're just going through the figures in the 12 houses of heaven, okay? So, Puella in the first house signifies a person of a short life, weak constitution of body, middle stature, little fat, but fair, effeminate, and luxurious, and one who will incur many troubles and dangers in his lifetime for the love of women. And the second house, it neither increaseth riches nor diminisheth poverty, signifies a thief not to be departed from the city, and a thing stolen to be alienated and made away. If a question be of treasure in a place, it is resolved there is none. I love this too, like, because, like, it breaks down, like, the houses. Like, one thing that I've noticed is going through the houses or the zodiac signs or anything else, these symbols just go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into our subconscious. And, like, we're learning a language, and we're reinforcing that language through repeatedly over the years, doing it again and again. Anyways, here we go. So in the third house, Puella signifies more sisters than brethren, and increaseth and continueth good friendship and amity amongst them. It denoteth journeys to be pleasant and joyous, and men of good conversations. To me, this is just really cool, because we're literally reading what someone in the 16th century said that these figures meant. It's so cool. So this is 500 years old, y'all. In the fourth house, Puella signifies a very small patrimony, and a father not to live long. Dang. But maketh the fields fertile with good fruits. In the fifth house, a woman with child is signified to bring forth a woman child. Denotes no embassages, causeth much commerce with women, and some office to be obtained from them. Puella in the sixth house signifies much weakness of the sick, but causeth the sick shortly to recover, and showeth the physician to be both unlearned and unskilled, but one who is much esteemed of, in the opinion of the vulgar people, giveth good servants, handmaids, cattle, and animals. In the seventh house, Puella giveth a wife fair, beautiful, and pleasant, leading a peaceable and quiet conversation with her husband, notwithstanding one that shall burn with much lust, and be coveted and lusted after of many men, denoteth no fruits or controversies. Such shall depend before a judge. But some jars and wranglings with the common people, one amongst another, which shall be easily dissolved and ended. In the eighth house, if a question be of one reputed to be dead, Puella declareth him to be alive, and giveth a small portion with the wife, but that which contenteth her husband. I want people to be careful, though. So, those of you that are experienced in magic and the occult already know, but for those of you that are total beginners, you can't really do like a cookie cutter, like, oh, this means this just because Agrippa said so. So just because, let's say that Agrippa says, oh, this in this house means someone's going to die or something ridiculous, that doesn't mean that's going to happen just because Agrippa said so, okay? So, and some of the things are like very dramatic in the interpretations. So I just like people to be careful, Take anything that you read with a grain of salt. Okay, always be careful. Okay, anything you read, take with a grain of salt. Anyways, continuing my read. In the ninth house, Puella signifies very few journeys. Showeth the man of good religion, and different skill or knowledge in sciences, unless happily music as well vocal as instrumental. In the 10th house, Puella signifies princes not to be very potent, but notwithstanding they shall govern peaceably within their dominions, and shall be beloved of their neighbors and subjects. It causeth them to be affable, mild, and courteous, and that they shall always exercise themselves in continual mirth, plays, huntings, maketh judges to be good, godly, merciful, giveth offices about women, or especially from noble women. In the 11th house, Puella giveth many friends, and increaseth favors with women. In the 12th house, Puella signifies few enemies, but contention with women, and delivereth prisoners out of prison through the interaction of friends. I'm sorry, y'all, that was long-winded. And then Amicio, to be continued. Very fascinating. It's all very fascinating, sirs and madams. To be continued with the Amicio. The next part. Okay. Alright. So, there's a lot of stuff that's coming up. Okay. It's just taking me a minute here But there are things in the works, sirs and madams. And I'm going to have more videos coming out with my Patreon. So there are videos that are private or just for Patreon. I have more of those coming out. And I plan to have more videos coming out. And yes, I do plan to make videos on a daily basis for the most part. But I'm really trying to finish up a couple of projects here. So, but I'll have another video coming out tomorrow for all of y'all. And I want to sincerely thank all of you for watching my video here today. And I will see y'all in the next video. Unless there's something that y'all want to go into if you're watching me live. And I just wanted to thank all of you for dropping in to say hello. That's really cool, really awesome. And it really means a lot. And yep, thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a wonderful night or morning. All right. Have a great day, y'all. Thank you. See y'all next time. Bye, y'all.